All right, I want to talk about hypersexualization in Nigeria, right? Many areas are just over sexualized. Is that taking place? I'm familiar with other countries because I spoke to someone specifically about what's going on in Ghana.
Mhm.
Are you guys experiencing that in Nigeria also?
Of course, the hypersexualization of the black world, and this is what I was telling you about the computer music before, So, for example, my father was a very sexually explicit guy, right, with his music. But with his relationship with his women, he always wanted to let the world see the cultural connection. And I feel like your sexuality is also a part of being a human being. If you're an artist and you see you're sharing your life with the world, it's okay if you share your love, and all of that, you know. Let's keep nothing secret, it's fine. I love that in art. But what is different today is that when everything is built around only our sexual relationships, like we cannot be deeper than that. Just the way African men cannot be are only as good as the things they can afford, the European things they can afford. You know, is one of the infantilization of who we are as men, as African men. We are what we buy. As African women, we are who wants to focus. So for me, this and for our narrative to be circled around these two things. So now the man that can buy all these European things must be the one that all these women like, and the woman with all these kind of assets and attributes, whatever that they've constructed, this imagery of beauty, then all these men that have these things gravitate towards her. And this is the narrative and the relationship between these two kind of people. This African man that can afford everything and this African woman that everybody wants to sleep with. The relationship that they have dominates our society. So that is the true hypersexualization of it. It's not the image. It's that the relationship between this idea of African people, you know, bad African girls, rich African guy, and their relationship is what dominates our psyche, our spaces, our social media platforms, whatever, you know. So for me, that is what is dangerous. That is what is really dangerous, is that it is this relationship only set as a model relationship. It is set as the thing to talk about. Right now, for example, the topic in my country is that the Moroccan footballer Hakimi divorced his wife, and his wife, who was trying to get half of his property, found out that he put everything in his mother's name, so she couldn't get anything. And everybody's discussing these two people for 3 days now. You know, for me, that is the real problem.
And a disturbing part about it is based on the myth. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the famous quote from the World Bank saying that uh, there's I think you have a better chance to win the
Yeah,
lottery. So that's the part. Like all this is based off of
on
myth.
it.
That's the whole
It is
disturbing part,
exactly. It
bro.
is a fantasy. We dominate our conversations with fantasy. And for me, it's crazy. I mean, I see some of our most prominent African people in America, you know, on TV or on their social media platforms, and they're analyzing African issues using the Godfather movie. I'm telling you, grown African men believe more in the philosophies and ideology of Michael Corleone than they do Nkrumah. These are the conversations that dominate our society, where we want to shape ourselves and mold ourselves like the dons of Italian movies. So it ties into the criminalization of our people, which is what they call sexualization. Because for me, all this is because the society and African people have a criminalized relationship where the system continually fucks us and we pay the price for it. You know, that's the only sex happening here. African people being fucked by the system and we paying for it, you know, and you know, all the illegitimate kids and whatever, and all the responsibilities of these kids that the system is having through the black people that it is fucking is just heaped on only us, and the system is like, oh, it's not our business, you know, because certain people are kind of pushed to the fore of the conversation of African people who then elevate other people's narrative in the consciousness of the majority of our people. You know, so as I said, the quotes of Michael Corleone and the Godfather are more prevalent in our society today than, say, Sankara's ideas and doings and, you know, things like that. You know, many African people want to conform themselves like dons rather than revolutionaries, and this is the issue.